Welcome to Python tutorial, and today our focus is on loops. We're going to talk about loops with for loop with a range function. As you're well aware that for loop in many of the programming languages is used to iterate a number of statements given in the block. Same thing happens in Python. When we are using for loop with range function in Python, it helps us to run the for loop a number of times. Okay, so for example, when I write down for x in range 1 to 11, it will start the range from 1 to 10 times. It will exclude the outer bound. Today, our learning objective is to develop a program to generate an arithmetic sequence to understand the working of for loop in Python. What is an arithmetic sequence? An example of arithmetic sequence is a sequence in which the rule is to add or subtract a number to generate the next term of the sequence. For example, this is a sequence of 5 terms. Between each term, there is a difference of plus 7. It means every time you add 7, you will get the next term. To understand how to calculate or how to find out what is the rule, you should be knowing either one of things. Either you should be knowing the first term, any two consecutive terms, and then you can find out the difference between two terms to get the rule. For example, the first term in this sequence is minus 6, and the second term in this sequence is 1. If you find out the difference between them, that will be 1 minus minus 6, that will be plus 7. So it means it's an increasing sequence, and we are adding plus 7 every time to generate next term. 1 plus 7, 8. 8 plus 7, 15. Something like that. Similarly, if you don't know the first term or second term, then you should be knowing at least two of these things. If you don't know the second term, then you should be knowing the rule and any one term to generate the next term. So, for example, if we already know the first term, that is minus 6, and we know the rule, that is plus 7, we can easily generate the next term. Same logic we're going to use to develop our program in which we will automatically generate a sequence. So you can see here, I have asked user input to enter the first number of sequence, and I'm placing it in a variable x. It's very important to convert that x into integer form and place it back into x, just like redefining x within and converting the x into integer form, because whenever you're using input statement will take the user input and of a string type, even if it's a number. So you have to convert that string into integer form. So same thing I have done by asking the second number of sequence. If the second number of sequence is being given, now we can find out the difference between the two sequences. So y minus x, this is our difference, and we can use for loop now to generate our sequence. I'm saying for z in range, and let's say I want to generate the first 5 terms of sequence. So the outer bound won't be calculated, so I'm writing for range 1 comma 6, so that it will run from 1 2 3 4 and 5 up to 5, well, fifth value. If I'll write down 5, then it will generate only 4 values of the range. Let's run it. Put a colon. It is very important in for loop syntax to put a colon, because then it will provide you with the indentation required. This indentation helps us to build the for loop, and all the indented code will be considered within the for loop, a part of this for loop. For example, now I'm going to print sequence or your required sequence colon, and then I'm going to print my sequence. I think we don't even need this thing. We can just print our sequence. So what is happening, for to generate a sequence, we just need to add in the first in our first term the rule. So first of all, we have already find out the rule. Instead of difference, I am going to write on here rule variable. That will make you understand, like I'm just like sort of trying to coordinate between mathematics and giving the same variable name for your ease. So every time I'm gonna generate the next term by adding rule in my variable x. That is the first term. So x plus rule. And I'm going to print my x every time. Okay. You can also do the rule later on so that, okay. So first print the first variable, then add the rule in it to generate the second term. Let's run it and try to debug it if there's any error. So it's asking me to enter the first number of sequence as given in the line 2. So I'm entering, let's say 12, pressing enter. I'm giving 15. So 15 minus 12, the rule will be 3. So let's check my sequence. The sequence is 12, 15, 18, 21, 24. Every time it's adding plus 3. If if you want to test this program one more time, let's test it again. I'm using a, so 10 minus 2, it's 8. So every time we are adding 8 now in our sequence, and this is generating the first 5 terms of the sequence. Okay. Now, when you truly understand how to generate an arithmetic sequence by finding out the rule, I'm going to change this method and I'm going to generate an arithmetic sequence that is uh, less than 50, let's say. I am actually trying to define you and I'm trying to help you understand range method with a third parameter. There is a third parameter that you can define. The third parameter actually is the increment value in your range variable. So range variable here is z. Every time if I say print my range, print z from 1 to 5, if I run this program, you can see, let's just do this. You can see that my for loop is printing 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's actually incrementing the z variable with plus 1 every single time, okay, until it reaches the outer bound, and it's not printing the outer bound, that's 5. The third parameter helps us to define and specify the increment value. So rather than saying that when you don't say and when you don't define the third parameter, it's adding 1 into the for loop variable. But when you define, for example, when you say add 3 every time, so it's going to add 3 until it will reach the outer bound, let's say 20. Let's try to understand this type of method. So I'm going to make all these things as comments so that you can just focus on the for loop and range function with 3 parameters. Let me run this one. So you can see it's printing z for range up to 1, from 1 to 20, but every time it's incrementing 3. So 1 plus 3, 4, 4 plus 3, 7, 7 plus 3, 10, until it reaches 20. It won't print anything which is which is more than 20 or equal to 20. I'm going to use the same benefit of the range parameter, and as you can see that we can actually write down rule here, especially if we know our first initial value, that is x, because user is going to give us the first value of the sequence, so we can define it as first parameter of our range function. Then I can say print all the numbers in the range which is less than 50. And rather than doing the extra step of adding the rule into my first value every single time, I can just write down rule here. What is going to happen in this program? This program is going to print the value x, and it gives the first value of x into my variable z, for loop variable z, and then it will print z. It will keep adding in z the rule value, which is y minus x, and we have already defined it. And when it will add the rule value into the x, it will automatically generate the next term of our sequence until it reach the outer limit, that is 50. It won't print any number in my sequence which is more than 50 or equal to 50. Let's run the program to understand the functionality of this program. So first thing, we have to enter a first number of our sequence. I'm writing 12, then 15. It will calculate 15 minus 12, which is 3 rule, and that rule is being added into x every single time. So you can see the range, this is our sequence. 12 plus 3, 15, 15 plus 3, 18. It will automatically generate all the numbers of our sequence which are less than 50. So this is how we can use the third parameter of range function and generate an arithmetic sequence automatically. Try to practice this program by changing the user input and see how does it work. Good luck with for loop and range function.